The fleet hung motionless in space. 200 ships, once proud and powerful, now sat like frightened children before an angry parent. The Guardian floated before them, its light casting strange shadows across their hulls. Admiral Taiho stood on his command deck, trying to understand what was happening. His mind could not accept it. 60 years of victory. 60 years of conquest. And now this. A being from before time itself, telling him to go home. "Admiral," Yuna said softly, "our engines are not responding. We cannot leave." "What?" Taiho turned to his engineering officer. "Explain." Officer Suho, a middle-aged woman with gray streaks in her hair, looked at her screens with confusion. "The Guardian's light did something to our systems, sir. Our engines are locked. Our weapons are frozen. We have basic life support and nothing else. So we are prisoners," Taiho said. "No." The Guardian's voice filled the ship again. "You are students. There is something you must understand before you leave." The light around the Guardian shifted. It formed new shapes, new images. The crew of the Iron Shadow watched in wonder as a story unfolded before them. They saw the universe as it was, billions of years ago. Empty, dark, lifeless. Then they saw the first stars being born, the first planets forming, the first sparks of life appearing on distant worlds. "We were the first," the Guardian said, "born in the heat of the earliest stars. We watched the universe grow. We saw species rise and fall, empires come and go. Civilizations reach for the stars, only to destroy themselves in war and hatred. The images changed. They showed wars, terrible wars that burned across galaxies. Species fighting species, worlds dying, stars exploding. So much death, so much waste. We tried to stop them," the Guardian continued. "We tried to teach peace, to share wisdom, but they would not listen. They wanted power, control, domination. They could not see that these things led only to destruction." Taiho watched the ancient wars play out before him. He saw civilizations that made his empire look like children building with blocks. He saw weapons that could destroy entire star systems. He saw hatred so deep it consumed everything it touched. And then he saw something else. A small blue planet, Earth, 4 billion years ago. "We found this world when it was young," the Guardian said. "Just water and rock and simple life. But we saw something in it. A potential. A chance for something different." The images showed the Guardian watching over Earth, protecting it from asteroids, shielding it from cosmic radiation, guiding the evolution of life with gentle touches over millions of years. "Why?" Minho asked. He was young enough to still have curiosity. "Why did you care about this one planet?" "Because of what would grow here." The Guardian's light shifted to show humans. Primitive humans living in caves, making fire, painting on walls. These creatures, these humans, they are different from the others. Yuna leaned forward. "Different how?" "They have something rare, something precious. They have the ability to change." More images appeared. Humans throughout history. Fighting wars, yes. Doing terrible things, yes. But also building cities, creating art, helping strangers, loving each other, learning from their mistakes. "They are not perfect," the Guardian admitted. "They've done evil. They will do evil again. But they also do something most species cannot. They recognize their own darkness. They fight against it. They try to be better." Admiral Taiho watched images of humans feeding the hungry, healing the sick, protecting the weak. He saw humans risking their lives for strangers, giving everything they had to help others. It was so different from the Empire, where strength was everything and weakness was death. We have watched them for 4 billion years, the Guardian said. We have seen them grow, from simple cells to thinking minds, from caves to cities, from throwing stones to touching their moon. They are still young, still learning, but they are learning faster than any species we have ever seen. The light formed one final image. The future. Humans spreading across the stars. Not as conquerors, but as friends. Meeting other species with open hands instead of weapons. Building a galaxy based on cooperation instead of domination. This is what they will become, the Guardian said. If they are allowed to grow. If they are protected from those who would destroy them or enslave them. This is why Earth is off limits. This is why we guard them. Taiho felt something strange in his chest. He thought it might be shame. For the first time in 60 years, he looked at his own empire and saw it clearly. The wars, the slavery, the cruelty. He had called it strength. He had called it glory, but it was just darkness. The same darkness that has destroyed so many civilizations before. What happens now? He asked. Now you choose, the Guardian answered. You can return to your empire and continue as before, conquering, destroying, walking the same path that has led every other civilization to ruin. Or you can carry this message home. You can tell your people what you have seen. You can begin to change. My people will never believe me, Taiho said. The Emperor will think I have gone mad. Perhaps. Change is never easy. It takes courage. It takes time. But it must start somewhere. With someone. The Guardian's light seemed to focus on Taiho alone. Why not with you? Commander Yuna stepped forward. The beacons. The ones that sent the signal. What happens now that they have been activated? Every Guardian in the universe heard that signal, the ancient being answered. They know Earth has been threatened. They are watching now, waiting. If your empire comes again with weapons and warships, we will respond. And next time, we will not be so patient. A chill ran through everyone on the command deck. They understood. This had been a warning. A single chance to turn back. There would not be another. I will carry your message, Taiho said slowly. The words felt strange on his tongue. He had never backed down from anything in his life. But this was different. This was bigger than his pride. Bigger than his empire. Good. The Guardian's light began to change. Remember what you have seen here, Admiral. Remember the humans and what they might become. And ask yourself, what might your own people become if they chose a different path? Taiho had no answer. He was not sure there was one, but for the first time in his long life, he wanted to find out. The Guardian turned toward Earth. Its light washed over the blue planet one final time. Gentle and protective. We have guarded this world for 4 billion years, it said. We will guard it for 4 billion more, if necessary, until the humans are ready to take their place among the stars, until they are strong enough to protect themselves, until they are wise enough to help protect others. And then, Yuna asked, what happens when they are ready? The Guardian was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something like pride in its ancient voice. Then they will become guardians themselves, and the universe will be better for it. With those words, the ancient being began to descend. It sank back toward Earth's oceans, back toward the depths where it had slept for so many years. The light faded. The presence withdrew. Soon there was nothing left but the blue planet and the stars. But its message remained. An admiral, Taiho knew that his life had changed forever. His fleet system slowly came back online. Engines hummed. Weapons powered up. They could fight again if they wanted to. They could try to attack Earth while the Guardian was gone. But Taiho gave no such order. Set a course for home, he said quietly. Maximum speed. No one argued. No one questioned. They had all seen what he had seen. They had all heard what he had heard. Earth was off limits. And maybe, just maybe, they finally understood why. The journey home took 3 days. 3 days of silence. 3 days of thought. 3 days of looking at the stars in a new way. Admiral Taiho spent most of that time alone in his quarters. He did not eat much. He did not sleep much. He just sat and thought about everything he had seen. The Guardian. The visions. The future of humanity. The past of his own empire. For 60 years, he had believed that conquest was the only way. The strong took from the weak. That was the law of the universe. That was the truth of existence. But what if it was not true? What if there was another way? The Guardian had shown him something different. A future where species worked together instead of fighting. Where power came from cooperation instead of domination. Where the strongest beings in the universe chose to protect the weak instead of destroying them. It seemed impossible. It went against everything Taiho had ever known. But he could not forget it. On the last day of the journey, Commander Yuna came to his quarters. She looked tired. She had not slept much either. "Admiral," she said, "may I speak freely?" "Yes." She sat down across from him. "I have been thinking about what the Guardian said. About humanity. About their potential. Do you believe it?" Taiho was quiet for a long time. "I do not know," he finally admitted. "I want to believe it, but it is hard. I have spent my whole life thinking one way. Changing is not easy." Yuna nodded. "I feel the same, but I keep thinking about those images. The future where humans spread across the stars, where they helped instead of hurt. It was beautiful, Admiral. More beautiful than anything the Empire has ever built." "Beautiful but impossible," Taiho said. "Maybe. Or maybe we just never tried." Yuna leaned forward. "The Guardian said change has to start somewhere. With someone. What if it starts with us? What if we go home and tell the truth? About what we saw. About what we learned. They will think we are crazy. Perhaps. But some might listen. Some might wonder. And maybe that is enough. A small crack in a big wall. The beginning of something new." Taiho looked at her. This young commander. So full of hope. So ready to believe in impossible things. He had been like that once, long ago, before the wars and the killing hardened his heart. "Even if we speak the truth," he said, "the Emperor will never leave Earth alone. It is too rich, too valuable. He will send another fleet. A bigger fleet. And the Guardians will stop them. Again and again. Until the Empire learns or until the Empire falls." Yuna's voice was steady. "But maybe, if we speak now, fewer people will die. Maybe some will listen before it is too late." Taiho thought about this. He thought about all the soldiers in his fleet. All the families waiting at home. All the lives that would be lost in a war they could not win. "You are right," he said at last. "We must speak. Whatever happens." The fleet arrived at the imperial capital the next day. News of their return spread quickly. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Why had the mighty Third Fleet come home without a victory? Why did they look so shaken? What had they seen? Admiral Taiho requested an audience with the Emperor. It was granted immediately. The Imperial Palace was the largest building in the galaxy. Gold and silver towers reached toward the sky. Flags flew from every wall. Soldiers stood at every door. It was designed to show power. To remind everyone who ruled the stars. Taiho walked through the great halls with Yuna at his side. He had walked these halls many times before, always proud, always confident. Now his steps were heavy. His heart was uncertain. The throne room was huge. The Emperor sat at the far end, surrounded by advisors and generals. He was an old man, older than Taiho, with cold eyes and a cruel smile. He had ruled the empire for 100 years. He had ordered the deaths of billions. He feared nothing, or so he believed. "Admiral Taiho," the emperor said, "you return without a new world to offer me. Explain." Taiho bowed. Then he raised his head and told the truth. He told them about the beacons, about the warnings, about crossing the boundary anyway. He told them about the Guardian rising from Earth's ocean, about its power, about its message. The throne room went silent. Everyone stared at him like he had lost his mind. Then the emperor laughed. "A story," he said. "A pretty story to explain your failure. You found a planet too strong to take, so you created this tale of ancient beings and prophecies." "It is no story, Your Majesty," Taiho said. "I have recordings, data, evidence. Everything I saw is documented. Then your equipment was damaged, or you were tricked. There are no beings older than the stars. There is no protected planet. There is only us, the Empire, the rulers of all." Taiho felt his heart sink. He had known this would happen. He had known they would not believe, but he had to try. "Send another fleet if you wish," he said. "Send 10 fleets, 20 fleets. They will all fail. Earth is protected by powers we cannot fight, powers we cannot understand. If we attack again, we will lose everything." The emperor's eyes grew cold. "You speak of defeat. That is treason, Admiral. I speak of truth. That is my duty." For a long moment, no one moved. The emperor stared at Taiho. Taiho stared back. Two old men, facing each other across a room full of lies. Then the emperor waved his hand. "Take him away. He is clearly unwell. Too many years of war have broken his mind." Guards stepped forward. Taiho did not resist. He had said what he needed to say. The rest was out of his hands. As he was led away, he looked back at Yuna. She stood alone in the throne room, surrounded by enemies. But she did not look afraid. She looked determined. She would keep fighting, he knew. She would keep speaking the truth. And others would listen. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday. Far away on Earth, the day was ending. In a small city called Bizon, a young woman named Hana sat on a beach and watched the sun go down. She was 23 years old. She worked at a bookstore. She liked to read stories about space and stars and distant worlds. Sometimes she dreamed about what might be out there. Aliens, other planets, adventures waiting to happen. She did not know that today, her entire species had almost been invaded. She did not know that ancient beings watched over her world. She did not know that the most powerful empire in the galaxy now feared her kind. She just watched the sunset and thought about the future. Above her, the stars were coming out. Thousands of them. Millions of them. Each one a sun. Each one with planets. Each one with possibilities. Somewhere among those stars, an empire was starting to change. Slowly, painfully, but truly. Somewhere among those stars, the word was spreading. Earth was off limits. Earth was protected. Earth was special. And somewhere deep in the Pacific Ocean, far below the surface, an ancient guardian settled back into its long sleep. Its work was done for now. The humans were safe. The future was protected. The guardian had watched over this world for 4 billion years. It would watch for 4 billion more. Because the humans mattered. Because they were worth protecting. Because someday, they would become something wonderful. Hana smiled at the stars. She did not know why, but she felt hopeful. Like something good was waiting just over the horizon. Like the universe was full of light, not darkness. Maybe it was just a feeling. Or maybe it was something more. A whisper from the ancient beings that guarded her world. A promise that everything would be okay. The night grew darker. The stars grew brighter. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the future of humanity was just beginning. They would reach the stars someday. They would meet other species. They would learn the truth about the guardians and the beacons and their own special destiny. But that was a story for another time. For now, Hannah just sat on her beach and dreamed, and the universe watched over her with ancient, loving eyes. The stars had always belonged to the Empire. For 10,000 years. The Galactic Empire had spread across the universe like fire across dry grass. They conquered worlds. They took what they wanted. No species had ever stopped them. No planet had ever refused them. Admiral Taiho had served the Empire for 60 years, and all that time, he had never known defeat. His ship, the Iron Shadow, was the largest vessel in the Third Fleet. It carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Behind it flew 200 more ships, each one filled with soldiers ready to fight and die for the Empire. They moved through space like a dark cloud, blocking out the light of distant stars. Taiho stood on the command deck with his hands behind his back. He was an old man now, with gray hair and deep lines on his face. But his eyes were still sharp, and his mind was still quick. He had conquered more than 50 worlds in his lifetime. He had killed millions. He felt no guilt. This was the way of the Empire. The strong took from the weak. It was the only law that mattered. "Admiral," said a young officer named Jinho. He was standing at the scanner station, looking at his screen with wide eyes. "We have found something." Taiho walked over to him. "What is it?" "A planet, sir. It is in a small system at the edge of our territory. The system has only one star, yellow, medium size." Jinho pressed some buttons, and more information appeared on the screen. "The planet is the third one from the star. It has water. It has land. It has life." Taiho looked at the data. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green and brown land filled the rest. White clouds floated in its atmosphere. It was the kind of world the Empire loved to take. Rich in resources. Perfect for colonies. "What do we know about the species living there?" Taiho asked. Jinho shook his head. "Not much, sir. They seem to be primitive. They have only recently started to explore their own moon. They have no space fleet. No planetary shields. No weapons that could hurt us." Taiho smiled. This would be easy. Another quick victory. Another world added to the Empire's collection. He would probably receive a medal for this. Maybe even a promotion. "Set a course for this planet," he ordered. "What do they call it?" "The local species calls it Earth, sir." "Earth," Taiho repeated. The name meant nothing to him. It would soon be forgotten, replaced by whatever name the Empire chose to give it. "How long until we arrive?" 3 days at full speed, Admiral." "Good. Tell the fleet to prepare for conquest." The order went out to all 200 ships. Soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots prepared their fighters. Everyone was excited. A new world to conquer meant new riches to steal, new slaves to take, new glory to win. But not everyone was happy. In a small room on the lower deck of the Iron Shadow, Commander Yuna sat alone. She was young for her rank, only 35 years old. She had black hair cut short and serious eyes that never seemed to smile. She was the best communications officer in the fleet. She could decode any message, translate any language, understand any signal. That was why Taiho kept her close, and that was why she was worried now. On her personal screen, she was looking at the data about Earth, but she was not looking at the planet itself. She was looking at the space around it. There was something there. something the main scanners had missed. Small objects floated in the darkness between planets. They were very old, older than anything Yuna had ever seen. They were not natural. Someone had built them. But who? And when? She tried to scan them more closely, but the objects seemed to resist her scans. They were made of materials she did not recognize. They used technology she could not understand. A cold feeling grew in her stomach. In all her years serving the Empire, she had never seen anything like this. She stood up and walked to the command deck. Taiho was still there, giving orders to his officers. He looked confident, happy, even. He had no idea what Yuna had found. "Admiral," she said, "I need to speak with you. It is important." Taiho turned to look at her. He could see the worry on her face. "What is wrong, Commander?" "I have found something strange in the Earth system. There are objects there. Artificial objects. They are very old. Much older than our Empire." The room went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Older than the Empire? That was almost impossible. The Empire was the oldest civilization in the known galaxy. They had conquered or destroyed everyone else. Taiho frowned. "Show me." Yuna brought up her data on the main screen. Everyone could see the objects now. They were small, dark, and scattered throughout the Earth system like seeds. They did not move. They did not send signals. They just floated there, silent and waiting. "What are they?" Jinho asked. "I do not know," Yuna admitted. "But I think they might be warning beacons." "Warning beacons?" Taiho laughed. "Warning us about what? A primitive planet with no defenses?" "I cannot say, Admiral. But something built these objects. Something powerful. Something that wanted to mark this system." Taiho was quiet for a moment. He looked at the mysterious objects on the screen. Then he looked at the beautiful blue planet called Earth. He thought about the easy victory waiting for him. He thought about the medals and the glory. "We continue," he said finally. "Whatever built those objects is long gone. The Empire fears nothing. We will take this world like we have taken all the others." Yuna wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him that this was wrong, that they should be careful, that they should turn back and study these objects before going any further. But she was just a commander. He was an admiral. His word was law. "Yes, sir," she said quietly. The fleet continued toward Earth. The Iron Shadow led the way, its weapons ready, its soldiers eager. Admiral Taiho stood on the command deck and watched the stars pass by. He thought about his victory parade. He thought about his place in history. He did not think about the ancient beacons floating in the darkness ahead. He did not think about what they might mean. He did not think about the fact that something had protected Earth for millions of years before humanity even existed, and he certainly did not think about what might happen when he crossed the line those beacons marked. But he would learn soon enough. The universe had many secrets, and Earth was one of its oldest. The fleet moved through space like a great metal snake. 200 ships followed the Iron Shadow, their engines burning bright against the endless black. They were 1 day away from Earth now. 1 day away from conquest. Commander Yuna had not slept. She had spent every hour studying the strange beacons. The more she learned, the more afraid she became. These objects were not just old. They were ancient. Her best estimates said they were at least 4 billion years old. That was before Earth even had life. That was before the Empire's first ancestors crawled out of their oceans. Something had come to this system 4 billion years ago and left these markers. Why? What was so special about Earth? She sat in her small room, drinking cold tea and staring at her screen. The beacons were talking. She had discovered that an hour ago. They were sending signals to each other, Very weak, very quiet. The signals used a code she had never seen before. It was beautiful and complex, like music written in mathematics. She was trying to decode it when her door opened. Lieutenant Dohan walked in. He was a young man with a round face and kind eyes. He worked under Yuna in the communications department. He was not as smart as her, but he was loyal and hardworking. "Commander," he said, "you should rest. You have been awake for 2 days." "I cannot rest," Yuna replied. "Look at this." She showed him her screen. Lines of strange symbols filled it. They looked like no language Dohan had ever seen. "What is that?" he asked. "The beacons are communicating. This is their language. I'm trying to understand it." Dohan looked worried. "Does the Admiral know?" "I told him yesterday." "He does not care. He thinks these beacons are just old trash left by a dead civilization." Yuna shook her head. "He is wrong. These beacons are still working. After 4 billion years, they are still working. Do you understand what that means?" Dohan thought about it. The Empire's best machines lasted maybe 1,000 years before breaking down. These beacons had lasted 4 million times longer. "The technology," he said slowly, "it is far beyond anything we have." "Yes, and that scares me. Whoever built these beacons could destroy us without effort. We are children playing with fire." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Yuna's computer made a sound. She looked at the screen and her eyes went wide. "I decoded part of the message," she whispered. The symbols had changed into words. Not perfect words, some were missing. Some were unclear, but the meaning was obvious. "Protected territory. Do not enter. Turn back. Warning. Protected territory." Yuna felt her blood turn cold. This was not old trash. This was a warning. A clear, direct warning. Something was telling them to stay away from Earth. "We have to tell the Admiral," Dohan said. They ran to the command deck. Admiral Taiho was there, sitting in his chair, watching the view screen. Earth was visible now, a small blue dot in the distance. It grew larger every hour. "Admiral," Yuna shouted. "I decoded the beacon signals." Taiho turned to look at her. He seemed annoyed. "This again? I told you, those beacons mean nothing." "They are warnings, sir. Look." She sent the decoded message to the main screen. Everyone on the deck could read it now. "Protected territory. Do not enter." The room went quiet. Officers looked at each other with nervous eyes. Even the soldiers standing guard seemed uncomfortable. But Taiho just laughed. "Protected?" he said. "Protected by what? We have scanned this system. There are no fleets here. No weapons platforms. No defensive stations. Just a primitive planet with primitive people." "Sir," Yuna said carefully, "whoever built these beacons is clearly not primitive. Their technology is millions of years ahead of ours. Maybe they are hiding. Maybe they are waiting." "Waiting for what?" Taiho stood up. He was angry now. "I have conquered 50 worlds. I have fought enemies that your young mind cannot imagine. I do not turn back because of some old markers left by a dead species." He walked toward the main screen where Earth glowed like a blue jewel. "That planet is rich. It has water. It has metals. It has billions of workers waiting to serve our empire. I will not give that up because of a warning written 4 billion years ago. But Admiral, enough. Enough." Taiho's voice was like thunder. "One more word about these beacons and I will have you removed from this ship. Do you understand?" Yuna wanted to argue. She wanted to scream at him, to make him see the danger. But she knew it was useless. Taiho had made his decision. Nothing would change his mind. "Yes, sir," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. She walked back to her station. Dohan followed her. "What do we do now?" He asked. We pray, Yuna answered. We pray that whoever left those warnings is truly gone. But deep in her heart, she knew that was not true. Those beacons were still working. They were still sending messages. That meant someone was still listening. The hours passed. Earth grew larger on the screens. The fleet prepared for the final approach. Soldiers put on their armor. Pilots climbed into their ships. Everyone was ready for conquest. At midnight, the iron shadow crossed an invisible line. It was the point where the beacons stopped. The edge of their network. The boundary they had marked 4 billion years ago. The moment they crossed it, every beacon in the system lit up. Alarms screamed on every ship in the fleet. Lights flashed red. Officers shouted in confusion. Something was happening. Something big. Report. Taiho yelled. What is going on? Jinho was at his scanner station, his face white with fear. The beacons, sir. They are all activating. They are sending a signal. A signal to where? Jinho checked his data. Then he checked it again. He could not believe what he was seeing. Everywhere, sir. The signal is going everywhere. It is spreading across the entire galaxy. Taiho felt something he had not felt in 60 years. Doubt. Can we stop it? No, sir. The signal is already gone. It has reached thousands of systems. Millions of systems. Everyone in the galaxy knows we are here now. The command deck was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They had triggered an alarm. They had told something that they were approaching Earth, and now that something knew they were coming. It does not matter, Taiho said. His voice was strong, but his hands were shaking. Whatever receives that signal is probably light years away. By the time they arrive, we will already own this planet. He turned to his fleet commander. All ships, increase speed. We take Earth tonight. The fleet obeyed. They flew faster toward the blue planet. They did not know what waited for them. They did not know that deep beneath Earth's oceans, something ancient had heard the alarm. Something was waking up, and it was very, very angry. Earth filled the view screen now. It was beautiful beyond words. Blue waters sparkled under the yellow sun. White clouds danced across green continents. Lights glowed on the night side, showing where the humans lived in their cities. Admiral Taiho looked at it and smiled. Despite the strange beacons, despite the warning signals, he felt confident. This world would be easy to take. The humans had no idea what was coming. They were busy with their small lives, their small problems. They did not know that 200 warships hung in space above them, ready to change their world forever. Begin landing procedures, Taiho ordered. I want troops on the ground within 1 hour. Officers rushed to obey. Commands went out to every ship. Transport vessels prepared to descend. Soldiers checked their weapons one final time. Everything was ready. Then Lieutenant Minho spoke. Minho was the youngest officer on the command deck. He was only 22 years old, fresh from the military academy. He worked at the deep sensor station, monitoring things far below the surface. It was usually a boring job. Planets rarely had anything interesting in their cores, but Earth was different. Admiral, Minho said. His voice was strange, quiet, like a man seeing something impossible. There is something under the ocean. Taiho turned to look at him. What do you mean? I am detecting energy signatures, sir. Very large energy signatures. They are coming from deep beneath the Earth's ocean floor. Yuna ran to Minho's station. She looked at his screen and felt her stomach drop. The readings were impossible. The energy levels were higher than anything she had ever seen. Higher than the Empire's largest power plants. Higher than their biggest weapons. Something was down there. Something massive. Something powerful. And it was rising. How deep? Yuna asked. 10 kilometers below the ocean floor, Minho answered. But it is moving up. Fast. Show me, Taiho demanded. Minho put the data on the main screen. Everyone on the command deck could see it now. A map of Earth appeared, with a bright red dot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The dot was moving, coming up from the depths, getting closer to the surface every second. What is it? Someone asked. No one knew. The scanners could not identify it. The shape was wrong. The energy patterns were wrong. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. It is not human, Jinho said. Humans do not have this technology. They cannot even travel to their own neighboring planets. Then what is it? Taiho asked again. The answer came a moment later. The ocean below them began to glow. Every sensor on every ship detected it. The water in the Pacific Ocean was lighting up from within. A massive circle of light, hundreds of kilometers wide, appeared on the surface. It was blue and gold and white, shifting and changing like a living thing. Then the water exploded upward. A column of steam and water shot into the sky, reaching higher than the clouds. And from that column, something emerged. Something enormous. Something ancient. It was not a ship, though it moved like one. It was not a creature, though it seemed alive. It was something between and beyond those things. A being of energy and matter, older than the stars themselves. It rose from Earth's ocean and kept rising. Past the clouds, past the atmosphere, into space itself. It grew as it rose, spreading out like wings made of light. Soon it was larger than the Iron Shadow. Then it was larger than the entire fleet. Every ship in Taiho's fleet stopped moving. Every soldier froze. Every officer stared at their screens in silent terror. The being hung in space before them. It had no face they could understand, no body they could recognize. But it had presence. It had power. And it was looking at them. What? What is that thing? Taiho whispered. Yuna knew. She had studied ancient records. She had read Forbidden's text about the early universe. She knew what this was. A guardian, she said. They are called guardians. They are the oldest beings in the universe. They existed before the first stars were born, before the first galaxies formed. They are the ones who built the beacons. That is impossible, Taiho said. Nothing is that old. The universe does not care what we think is possible, Admiral. The guardian moved closer. Light flowed from it like water, washing over the fleet. Where the light touched, systems failed. Weapons went offline. Engines stopped working. Shields disappeared. In seconds, the entire fleet was helpless. But the Guardian did not attack. It did not destroy them. It simply watched and waited. Then it spoke. The voice came through every speaker on every ship. It came through personal communication devices. It even seemed to come from inside their own heads. It was not speaking their language, but somehow they understood every word. You have crossed the boundary. You have ignored the warnings. You have come to the protected world. Taiho found his voice. We are the Galactic Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We do not fear silence. The word hit them like a physical force. Taiho fell back into his chair, gasping. Every person on the command deck felt it. A weight pressing down on them. A power beyond anything they had ever known. Your empire is young, the Guardian said. A child playing with fire. You know nothing of the universe. Nothing of its true nature. Nothing of the children of Earth. The humans? Yuna dared to speak. You are protecting the humans? But they are so primitive. So weak. They are young, the Guardian answered. As you once were. But they carry something special. A spark. A potential. They are destined for great things. Things you cannot imagine. The Guardian's light shifted and changed. Images appeared in the glow. Images of the future, perhaps, or of possible futures. Humans building ships that sailed between stars. Humans meeting other species as equals. Humans spreading kindness and wisdom across the galaxy. They will be the best of you, the Guardian said. Not conquerors. Not destroyers. Builders. Healers. Friends to all who need them. This is their destiny, and you will not take it from them. Admiral Taiho stared at the images. He could not believe what he was seeing. These primitive creatures, these humans, would become greater than the Empire? It was absurd. It was offensive. But looking at the ancient being before him, he knew it was true. What do you want us to do? He asked. His voice was small now. All his pride, all his confidence had melted away. Leave, the Guardian said. Return to your empire. Tell your masters what you have seen. Earth is protected. It will always be protected. Any who threaten it will face us, and if we refuse... The Guardian's light grew brighter. For a moment, Taiho saw something terrible in that light. He saw his fleet burning. He saw his empire crumbling. He saw the extinction of his entire species. Do not refuse, the Guardian said simply. The vision disappeared. The light returned to normal. But the message was clear. This was not a negotiation. This was not a discussion. This was a command from a being that could destroy them all with a thought. Taiho looked at his officers. They were all afraid. Even the bravest soldiers on his ship had tears in their eyes. They had come here expecting easy victory. Instead, they have found something beyond their understanding. We need to leave, Yuna said quietly. Now, before it changes its mind. Taiho wanted to argue. He wanted to fight. But he was not a fool. He knew when he was beaten. All ships, he ordered. Prepare to withdraw. The Guardian watched them. It did not move. It did not speak again. It just waited, patient and eternal, as the Empire's fleet began to turn away from Earth. Below them, on the blue planet, billions of humans continued their lives. They did not know what had happened above them. They did not know how close they had come to invasion, to slavery, to destruction. They did not know that ancient beings watched over them, protecting them from the darkness of space. But someday, they would learn the truth. And on that day, they would finally understand why they mattered.